Roll Tide, everybody. Welcome to Cover Crimson. We're going to talk about Greg Byrne's statement. I feel like Greg was watching the show yesterday because I feel like a lot of the things that Greg put in his statement were things that we talked about yesterday right here on Cover Crimson. So we're going to talk about that. How about Bama back in the transfer portal again? You want to play this transfer portal game, guys? Well, we'll play it with you. And Bama got a new cornerback. We'll get into that too. Thanks for hanging out with us. That's Clint Lamb. I'm Mick Gillispie, brought to you by mybookie.ag. Let's get this show started. Let's play our open. All right, there he is, Clint Lamb. I'm Mick Gillispie, Cover Crimson, covercrimson.com, and we appreciate all you guys hanging out. Man, I'm telling you, Clint, I know that not everybody's going to agree with me, but Greg Byrne made a statement today talking about the scourge of the NIL, and, man, I'm with him, man. And I've heard that that this NIL thing probably isn't going to last much longer because the Senate and Congress are working on a bill that's going to restrict a lot of this stuff. And that's really the way that you can knock it out. They're saying that maybe by next term that they have a bill that they restrict all of this. But right now it is the Wild West, and some of it's pretty ridiculous. And I'm glad that the guy said something. I really like what he said today.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what he's doing. First of all, I mean, people are going to take it different ways. And I understand it being taken in multiple ways. The way that I kind of looked at it, I knew and I understood how it could be perceived, but I also understand that when fans come really close to losing a player that they really care about, it's a situation where it's a good time for, rallying the troops and saying, hey, even the most loyal people, because we all face this. If you're making, if you're making $50,000 a year and someone comes in and says, you know what, we'll let you do the same work, come work for us, and we'll give you $300,000 a year. It would be hard for anybody to say, you know what, no, I love this company so much. I'm going to keep taking the 50 and we're going to let it ride. Even the most loyal people would consider it, at the very least consider it. But what you want to be able to do is say, hey, if your current company can come back to you and say, we're not going to give you 300. I mean, that's an absurd amount, but that's really not what you should be getting, to be honest with you. I mean, they wouldn't say that, but I think even the person that's getting it understands they probably shouldn't be based off of where they're at currently. They basically say, hey, we can get you to 100, we can get you to 150. You got to be able to do that and do that pretty consistently in the NIL era right now. And hopefully you're right. And maybe this is a temporary problem, but what Greg Byrne's trying to do is, I think everybody yesterday or the last couple of days, really started on Monday, became very aware of just how big the transfer portal, how big of a problem the transfer portal can be. And I think that they're trying to do whatever they can to make sure that they're staying competitive. I talked about that window post Nick Saban, and you got to keep your momentum going. During this hopefully temporary time, you've got to do whatever you can to stay competitive. I know Greg Byrne, doesn't want to ask the average fan, to help out. But at the same time, who better to go to than the people that love your university, they love the football team, and they want to support everybody involved. And so you're going to go to your big donors. You're going to go to, I'm sure former players. You're going to get the money however you can get it. But this fan base, it's one of the best fan bases in college football. And so I understand why Greg Byrne's turning to him a little bit.
I said it to you guys yesterday, and look, I've never been one of these guys that is a cheerleader for the way that things are set up right now. But what I said was, just as a guy that went to Alabama, and some of you that are hanging out with us right now, and it's great to see all of you in the comment section, and I'm not taking a shot at the people that got on board when Saban was there. Unfortunately for me, I lived through the Shula years. I lived through the Bows. I remember the quick Mike Price. When I got there, Gene Stallings was head coach. So I've been through the good, the bad, and the ugly, all of it, right? And with Nick Saban, really the great. The way that this system's set up right now, We don't have a bunch of billionaires at Alabama. I'm sorry, guys. Like I graduated from Alabama. My sister graduated from Alabama. My nephew's a student there right now. I love this university as much as any of you guys that are watching. And this job, being on here, talking on Cover Crimson, talking on my channel, wherever I'm at, it's a passion for me. I love Alabama. What's going to make us successful is the fact that we have the numbers. We're the biggest and best in college football. And what's gonna help us overcome this until they make a law that says, hey, Texas can't come in and buy your best players. Ohio State can't come in and buy your best players. Your old coach that couldn't stay out of the bar, that's a head coach somewhere else, can't come in and buy your best players. The only thing that's going to get us there is that we have to band together as the fact that we're the biggest and the baddest out there. There's more of us than any of us. Or that any of them is we're gonna have to support this NIL, and I said that yesterday, and Greg Byrne didn't call me. I've never talked to the guy. I'm just telling you from not from the hey, I'm like Clint, like he's an objective professional. I'm just the guy that gets him there, But I'm telling you right now, I'm just a fan, and this is what we do. Is there more of us than them, and we got to support the NIL because thinking about Jalen Mbakwe, going to Ole Miss makes me sick. The fact that guy would come back here and try to buy our players away from us bothers me. And it should. And look, if this system's set up this way, I just feel like I'm exactly where Greg is right now. That's the way that we can succeed because the way that things are set up right now, there's no rules. And nobody can even say anything if you're Ohio State and you're out there purposely going out and plucking players from other teams, what are they going to do about it, man? There's no rules. The NCAA is like a toothless dog, So where we succeed is if us Alabama fans get together and support the NIL. Now, the NIL's got to do a good job too, Clint, in giving us something to support. And that's on them, and I'm behind Yay Alabama, but I want the Yay Alabama beer. Give me the IPA. Give me the lager. Give me the stout. Give me the porter. I want the, I know they have a vodka. I want as many Yay Alabama products as I can possibly buy those. But the shirts and everything else, we just have to be creative. And I, you guys know, I work for the president of the University of Tennessee in baseball. I see what Tennessee's doing. They're building a business district, a battery around Neyland Stadium. I work for the guy. He's a genius. They're adding a tax to their tickets. I didn't make this up. I spend baseball season with him. And let me tell you, they're tired of getting their ass kicked by us. That's it. So we have to counter that.
100%, because at a certain point, and you can hate how something is going. I think you hate it. I hate it. We can all agree here that we hate how the process is currently playing out. But what we can't deny is if you do love Alabama and you want them to stay competitive in this current landscape, which hopefully this current landscape isn't, a permanent one, there will be changes made. But in the immediate, as far as being a fan, because fans do give a lot, man. They want to support the team. You got people that they'll get hotel rooms, they'll spend gas money, they'll go spend $14 on a soda in the stadium. Like they're willing to do all those things because they love their team. Right now, it's kind of a temporary thing, and during a time where probably a lot of people are kind of struggling to pay the bills a little bit. Things have been a little bit harder with inflation. I don't think that's a political thing to say. I think everybody can acknowledge inflation's been a problem. Everybody's bills are going up. And so, I understand this is like it is certainly not even close to being the most ideal time, but it's, one of those things where they're trying to do everything they can to remain competitive. And I agree with you. Someone brought up the fact, let me go try to find the comment. Lance Hunter, he said, Yay, Alabama marketing is directed to the old guard. Right. They're missing huge marketing. And I think, part of that is that the old guard probably is a much better donor base right now. Right. Like I'm at a point in my life where, I'm sure 20 years from now when I'm a lot more established, I've had time to save and do all the things. And, I I'm sure I'll be in a 10 times better position financially than I am right now. But at the same time, he's 100% right. You've got to be able to start getting some of these younger people, appealing to them and connecting with them and getting them involved in this process, because you do have a large fan base. I mean, there was a guy that held up a sign on game day that said something about, mom, send more beer money, or need beer money. And he put his Venmo up, and fan bases started getting competitive right there on the spot and saying, hey, $50 from a Baylor fan. Oh, well, if I'm a Texas Tech fan, I want to outdo Baylor, so I'm going to send 100. And then this guy made thousands of dollars. Now, you can only do that once. But my point is that the competitive juices of people start flowing, and, they get in a real giving mood. I think there's creative ways to kind of tap into that and get everybody, make it a fun process. Like, everybody had fun that day. They were giving away money to this one guy that probably really didn't even need it, but it was a competitive thing. It became fun. If you can start doing some of that stuff, I think you'll be in much better shape. But, it's the current landscape right now.
Well, it's also, I think that if you're Greg Byrne and you're looking at the landscape of the college football world, and I'm telling you, like, the Congress and Senate are going to do something about it. That's what I think is going to happen. Apparently it's a bipartisan thing that they're working on, trying to figure out how to fix this. So I think it's going to happen, but right now it hasn't happened. So the bottom line is that we have to deal with this as long as it's, in where it is right now. And the way that we deal with it is that, as Alabama fans, is there's a lot of us, even if we, look, man, I mean, like the last presidential campaign, the guy that won got a lot of like small donations, but he got a ton of them, right? You do the same thing, man. You just kind of nip it with a bunch of the small donations, but there's enough of us where it makes a big difference. And to sit back and watch Ole Miss, that hasn't won a championship since the 50s, come in and try to, and every time something goes on, and to see this guy and to swoop in town and try to buy our best players and just be a thorn in our side. I'm so sick of him, and I'm sick of the way that this system is. Okay, I'm just sick of it. And the way that we counteract that is that we use our size as an advantage. Clint, I travel all over the place. There's never been somewhere I've landed on a plane in this world that I haven't seen somebody walk by when I'm wearing my Alabama stuff and say "Roll Tide." Just the way it is, right? Saban goes overseas and he can't even hide in Italy, where people are finding him, and that's what makes us, man. I mean, we're Dixie's football pride. Really, we're college football's pride, So that's what I was saying yesterday, and I kind of feel like Byrne today made that statement. I've been critical of a lot of the past athletic directors, but I really like him. I just think he does a great job. I like the decisions that he makes. I understand exactly what he's saying. He's asking us to just get behind what they're trying to do right now. Is it perfect? No, but get behind this effort, because the last thing you want is Ohio State coming in and taking your best player, Texas coming in and taking your best player, and for God's sakes, Ole Miss. I mean, come on, man. We're like 83-10 against them or something like that. Clint, they stink. Get them out of here.
Yeah, and Eddie Wesley, he asked what the web address is to donate to Yay Alabama. It's yay-alabama.com. There's a spot right there at the top when you go to the website that says join. When you click on that, if you want to do the monthly thing, I certainly support you doing that. I think that's a great idea. But if you want to make even a one-time donation, like you don't want to lock yourself in for anything long-term, you scroll down a little bit and there's a place where it says one-time donation. And then you can just give whatever you're willing to give. People think, my $5, my $10, it's not going to help. Anything helps. And it's you doing whatever you can, however small, to support the university. I get where people are coming from. As far, LSU, Brian Kelly, he's having to do some things to be creative. He's willing to match people's donations up to $1 million. You got, Mike Norvell, who just had a terrible year. I mean, he was probably going to be asked to take a pay cut anyways, but they're doing it in a creative way where it's like, hey, this guy takes his pay cut, but also it helps him get better players by giving this money back. and it looks better. Like, it looks like he cares. It looks like he's trying to help. That should rally fans. So, I mean, did we expect that we were going to have to get on here and really talk about this sort of thing? No. The Jalen Mbakwe situation, I think everybody just thought, for the most part, those types of players were just off limits. You're not going to get a gump to enter the transfer portal. This guy was recruiting for Alabama last year, but that's kind of where things are at. Like, I mean, anybody in life, the only people that aren't well, I wouldn't say everybody in life, but just about everybody in life can be tempted by money. It's just, how often are you actually being tempted by money? I mean, no one's knocking on my door saying, I'll give you a 5x increase on your yearly salary. And I love this channel, but I will say I would at least entertain it if someone did drop that at my doorstep. So I can't blame. Yeah, I mean, I can't blame Jalen Mbakwe. A lot of people want to. I can't do it. But hey, I will say though, anybody that thinks quote unquote Alabama's broke and Alabama's screwed or anything like that, I mean, they're starting to the transfer portal is starting to warm up a little bit for Kalen DeBoer and company.
Yeah, and we're going to get to that in a second, and I agree with that. But the bottom line is this, and I heard from some of you guys comment section, and we appreciate it. And let me say a couple things before we even go any further, because I'm supposed to do this, and then we get so fired up about what we're talking about that I forget that I got to tell you guys this: 300% deposit bonus for the casino and 50 free spins using the promo code next round, and up to 50% bonus for the sports book as well. And I talk about my man all the time, but the big sexy Elmo guy, the legend himself, he literally call me and tell me how high he was up on the roulette wheel at mybookie.ag. So take advantage of that. He never got the 300% deposit bonus on the casino and the 50 free spins. He would have loved that. But yeah, take advantage of it. And guys, we're brought to you by them. We appreciate them so much. And the annual subscription right now, sign up, get the t-shirt. I was there today, Clint. I was there today. I saw Reed. I saw LT. I saw Dunaway. I saw Brown. I saw the entire crew.
Except me.
Except you at the studios today. I was
there. A doctor's appointment. It was
you got a clean bill of health though.
Yeah, we doing all right. I ain't gonna say we're exactly clean, but we doing all right. We were making it. Hey, I will say my blood pressure was a little high, but you know what? I told them, I'm like, this isn't my fault. Have you watched Alabama play football this year? I mean, yeah, sure. Maybe I could go run a little bit. Maybe I could eat a little healthier, but this is 98% Alabama's fault.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, dude. Like they'll kill you right now with all the close games, but anyway, yeah, guys, be a part of what we're doing. Like, subscribe, thumbs up as you hang out. I'm going to throw this up on the screen too. But, Clint, just kind of wrapping this up, and then we'll talk about the latest commitment and the fact that Bama's starting to get some momentum in the transfer portal. It's the thing that I wanted to reiterate today that I said yesterday is that we have to put enough money in that NIL until they fix this, that we're not backpedaling all the time and we're on the defensive. We need to be on the offensive, right? If this is the system that they've set up and it's complete crap, but it's the system that's set up, instead of having, our old coach that, Mr. Sweetwater over here trying to buy our best players, let's go and buy their best players, And instead of letting them go to Ohio State, let's put enough money in there where we put a beating on them. I just can't stand what's going on right now. Is it the right thing to do? It's just the way that it is. So that's all I'm saying. And for the NIL, and I don't work for them. I don't, I know Aaron, but I don't really know all the things that are going on. We've just got to be more creative with the things that we do to get people involved in it, and I think that's fair. I mean, it's a two-way street. We could do a little bit better on our side. They could do a little bit better on their side. But let's be creative and let's be competitive, because thinking about Jalen Mbakwe, going and wearing the powder blue of Ole Miss, the Land Sharks, is pretty ridiculous to me, Clint. I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, and I will say, when you're the one that's going out there and your team is the one poaching other people's players and getting them to enter the transfer portal and doing all those things, You want to know who had fun the last couple of days? Well, probably not as much yesterday, but for those couple of days where Ole Miss thought they were stealing one of Alabama's better young players on their roster, they had a blast with it. I assure you. So you always want to be the hunter, not the hunted, and you got to figure out a way to make sure you're able to do that.
Yep. So that's that. And again, another. I think that Byrne might be criticized by some people, but I thought it was a great move. And if I didn't, I'd tell you guys, because I haven't been a fan of some of these past athletic directors. But I really, really, really think they have a great one right now with Byrne. And so good job. All right, let's talk about the transfer portal. We got one to commit yesterday, and we got one to commit today. So we're starting to pick up some momentum in that category. We lose a defensive lineman yesterday, and then we pick another one up, Clint.
Yeah, I mean, Kelby Collins, that was a guy that we've talked about extensively on this channel. And so I don't want to dive too much into that other than to say I thought it was interesting that, Kalen DeBoer was asked about Kelby earlier, and he mentioned the fact that he was a guy who could do some different things for you, play inside, play out. And I thought that was somewhat noteworthy because you really didn't, at least this year, you didn't see it under Kane Womack at South Alabama much at all, but you also really didn't see it that much this year from LT Overton and Jamarian Latham, is them playing inside a whole lot. They were more of like true 3-down edges. There were some situations, if it was like a certain package, maybe, they would be playing different things, but it wasn't a very common thing. So you look at what Kelby Collins did at Florida and the fact that he started off as an edge, then he moved inside. I said this, I think it was, a couple of days ago or yesterday or whenever. I think he's a guy that you use more situationally inside. And so if you can do that, if you can bolster your pass rush as far as putting some of those guys in the field, getting multiple bandits on the field at the same time and having some of them play further inside, like Jamarian Latham did that quite a bit under Nick Saban. But for whatever reason, we didn't see it a whole lot this year. It seems like they might be tweaking some things to figure out a way to generate more of a consistent pass rush, because if you can do that on top of the fact that you're getting all these turnovers, this could be a really, really good Kane Womack defense. But then you also add Cameron Calhoun at corner, the defensive back from Utah, young guy, redshirt freshman, actually transferred from Michigan. I think he ended up playing close to what? I got the numbers right here. 395 snaps, but he only had one start. It was against Oklahoma State in week 4. 6 foot, about 180 pounds. He was actually very sought after. He was a top 20 corner in the transfer portal. A lot of teams, Michigan was wanting him back. There were several places that would love to have him. I think Alabama, with what they did with Jalen Mbakwe, as far as potentially moving him to the offensive side of the football, and I don't think that's been determined definitively yet. I like the fact that with that being a possibility, and maybe you helping out that side of the football with his, rare athleticism, you end up getting a veteran corner who's got a little bit of experience. He's played for multiple programs and multiple systems. And so him getting to Tuscaloosa and kind of contributing to at least their depth there, but I also think he can end up being a potential starter. I think he's got a lot of talent and upside. I think that was a home run. I mean, 2 key guys on the defensive side of the football. That's not really Kalen DeBoer's forte, but he understands the importance of balance.
Yeah. So what do you think about the, basically adding Cam Calhoun? I mean, is this a replacement for Devontae Smith? Is this a different spot? How do you see him fitting into the defense?
Who's that?
Cam Calhoun.
Yeah. I like I said, I could totally see him being a starter. I think he's got starter talent. He only started 1 game for Utah this year, but he played a lot of snaps, man. I mean, 395, that's kind of up there. And like, I guess you would probably compare it to like Kool-Aid McKinstry when he was a freshman a few years ago. I think he ended up with like 5 or 6 starts or 7 starts. It was somewhere in that range, but he played, somewhere around 400 snaps. That's the amount that Cam Calhoun played for Utah this year. And they loved his upside. They thought he had a really bright future with their program. And, he ultimately ended up entering the transfer portal. Alabama understood the importance of adding a guy like that. And like I said, I mean, you don't know what's going to happen with Damani Jackson. So, if he chooses to leave early for the NFL, this makes even that much more sense. But also, if Damani Jackson comes back for whatever reason, you got your two corners starting corners coming back from this year. Now you're able to kind of move Deshaun Jones around potentially. The fact that you lost Devontae Smith at Husky, maybe you've got the ability with some depth build out there on the perimeter and some young talent coming in. Maybe you can do some different things with Deshaun Jones. So I really like the pickup. I think the timing of it's perfect. I think the fact that you got somebody who's going to be able to, help as far as your pass rush. You got a guy, only one career interception for Calhoun, but I think he's got good ball skills. I think he's got good talent. I could totally see him being on the receiving end of some of those, Kelby Collins pressuring a quarterback, forcing him into a bad decision, and he throws it right to Cam Calhoun.
Well, look, you gotta go out there and get what's in the portal. I hated to see Devontae Smith go, but I mean, this is the way that things work. Alabama had, how many is it now? 15 guys leave?
Yeah, 15. Portal? Yeah, it was 16 before Jalen Ibakwe decided to come back. Yeah.
Yeah, we got him. Danny Lewis came back. Some guys are going to leave. Maybe there's some more that are going to leave too. I don't think it's going to be as many. I from what I understand, I think we're kind of at the end of this, which is, I hope that's true.
Getting close, yeah.
Yeah,
and I'm sure there will be some more post spring. Yeah. Some guys that you're talking sticking around and competing. I don't think that's going to be too many.
Stressful. Though. It's stressful.
Yeah,
but it is what it is, man. I mean, that's kind of the world we live in right now. Look at Arkansas. I mean, the whole team left. How about Marshall? Do you see this? They had to quit their bowl game because so many players transferred. I mean, there's got to be some kind of guidelines, and I hope that the NCAA steps in and throws it up there, because what's going on right now is just bad for the game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I said to start this show, none of us like where the direction that this is heading, and it's a battle. But it's something that it's like I've said. I mean, obviously, there's been connections to a lot of different players. What I want people to understand, they think these players are coming in, they're visiting, and then Alabama's begging them to commit, and they're saying, no, we're going to take some more visits. It's really not like that. Some of it is guys are showing up, and they're not even getting offers. It's more of, hey, we want to get a feel for you. We want you to get a feel for us. And then part of it is, you end up getting an offer, but maybe you're not pressing for them to commit. You want to be able to check some other places. It's a huge thing right now as far as how Alabama's approaching it. They've got a plan. I understand that the plan might not make a lot of sense to fans right now. It's just go get the best players that you possibly can at positions of need. Just do that. I mean, I think there's a method to this madness. If you go out there and you want to sign competition for a young guy, that's fine. But some of these players that you signed in this 2025 recruiting class, they were brought in with the expectation that they would get to compete. And so you go get a player who's good enough to compete that you feel like, would certainly bolster your depth or be a nice starter piece if they win out the competition. But you also don't want to go sign necessarily at some of these spots a surefire starter that's automatically going to slot a guy into a backup role that you kind of promise them an opportunity to compete. So it's kind of a balancing act on some of that. And I think, from what I've been able to gather, DeBoer's actually doing a pretty good job, DeBoer and company, of managing that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I met DeBoer when he was at the Bama for the mullet toss down there in April doing an NIL fundraiser. But I mean, look, man, the NFL players that went to Alabama need to step up in this area too. I'm not saying that they need to give their money, but maybe give their time. We kind of got into this yesterday a little bit, and I'll talk to Coker about it on Elephant in the Room and Mike Johnson on the All-American Report. Those two guys both were on NFL rosters. Mike played a lot in the NFL, but it's going to take all of us doing the thing that we can bring to the table. Whether it's you and me, Clint, maybe we're out hosting stuff, or the fans are contributing or showing up to events. I saw people were saying, hey, I'd love a signed helmet or something. Man, all that stuff's doable to me. That's all doable. If you want to be the best at what you do, then you need to be the best at what you do. And the way to do that is be organized and figure out what everybody wants and try to meet that need. I think I think at the end of the day, we just want to win, and you win with good talent, and you win with good coaching. So, that's kind of where this is right now. But I'm excited about the fact that we got Mbakwe back. I think that is a really big win for Alabama. I'm in love with. I hate to say this, but I'm in love with Ryan Williams, man. I saw where AL.com kind of took a hit at him today. Man, get off my guy.
I didn't see this.
I saw that, talking about a diva. There's nothing diva about him, man. He's just a great
about Ryan
talent.
Williams.
Yeah, and it's like, look, the guy's not a diva. He's just a great player, man. He's got his own style of doing it. Prince, I've described him as football's version of Prince. Maybe he's Alabama's version of Prince. Prince was badass, man. Like he did it his own way. I was just at newlifeart.com. I mean, New Life Art, not New Life Art, over in Hoover, because I'm in Birmingham right now. And I'm looking at the print of Ryan Williams as he was like stunning Georgia with his catch and run. It's like, look, man, this guy is he's not a diva, man. He's special. He's just a special talent. But what I really love about him is that he cares. And this guy's the one that's going out and helping us recruit players and building the camaraderie around the program right now. And he did it again. He did it again, Clint.
Well, I mean, I think he's got all of the qualities, the good qualities of a diva receiver. I don't think he has any really of the negatives. Like when you watch him, he's got the swagger, he's got the confidence. The way he handles his business, though, he puts his head down, he goes to work when it's work time. He understands, and that's weight room, that's training room. Getting rehab on something, that's practice field, that's game film, game film too. Watching film, game field. During games, the guy just goes about his business the right way, and anybody that you talk to will tell you that, and they're not just blowing smoke. I mean, that's how he approaches things. He's young, he likes to have fun. He's a little bit different, I will say. But I really don't know where I don't really know where the diva side of it comes into it. I mean, there for a while, based off of the offense with Jalen Milroe at quarterback, Ron Williams was asked about the limited amount that they were, throwing the football and the limited target opportunities and all those things. And he's like, man, did you see my guy run for 4 touchdowns and 150 plus yards? Like, we don't care. We don't care how we get it. Let's get it. Let's win. I mean, tell me a diva receiver that's saying that. I mean, right now, Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown have kind of been going at it. I guess from what the media has been, kind of spinning it into, it seems like, because AJ Brown said something about, what can y'all improve on? And he said the passing game, and he was essentially taking a shot at Jalen Hurts and the fact they weren't throwing the football, but they're winning football games. They've got to, are they limited in some way? Sure. But it's like, I mean, or do you hear that to me? And there's, and to an extent, there's nothing wrong with being a diva receiver, to be honest with you. I mean, just that's kind of what we've come to expect. I mean, a lot of receivers are divas. That's kind of always been the stigma. But, Ron Williams didn't say anything like that. Like, he's fine getting his wins however they get them.
The guy's supposed to be a senior in high school this year, and he's been one of the best, most electrifying players in college football. But there's more to him than that, and I love the guy. I think he's special. I think he's one of the all-time great Alabama receivers. We're seeing it in real time here, and it just feels like a little bit of hate there, But the guy going out there, he's recruiting Mbakwe to come back, and who knows what's going on behind the scenes or not going on behind the scenes. But at the end of the day, all I care about is, and this, Clint, I've been a Jalen Mbakwe super fan since signing, I loved what he did at Clay Chalkful. The guy was the best quarterback, and then he decides to come play defensive back. If he's going to play receiver, hey, let's let him play receiver. I mean, the Heisman Trophy winner did it. So, and the other thing is this, guys. I took economics at Alabama. I graduated from the capstone, and economics was my minor. I understand exactly what's going on right now. I mean, I know economics, and if your value's this, and you're getting paid this, then somebody's going to pay you this, right? I mean, that's the way it works. I get that. The problem is that amateur athletics aren't supposed to be this, and that's where that's where Congress and Senate have to step up and put caps on all of this. I'm not saying that these guys don't deserve to get paid. I talked about that yesterday. I think that they do deserve to be compensated when they're the stars of $1 billion industry. But what I'm saying is that there just needs to be limits, because you can't have competition where Ohio State's coming in and they're going to pay $30 million, and then some of the teams in their very league are going to pay none. I mean, it's crazy.
If you're a Yankees fan, you love the setup of Major League Baseball. If you're an athletics fan, I'm guessing you're not a very big fan because of the fact that there's no cap space. And it's people will it's tough to ask people to give. I totally understand that. But once again, it's kind of the current landscape that we live in. One thing I did want to touch on very quickly, and I'm sure this conversation will keep dipping back into the NIL stuff. It kind of seems to be originally it was transfer portal, and we were going to continue to talk transfer portal. But, I also think just the fact that Greg Byrne released that statement, it was in some ways surprisingly controversial. And so, I thought it was worth mentioning. But Malachi Moore will not be participating in the bowl game. He had a lingering issue that he's been playing through all year. And Kalen DeBoer made it known that he went ahead and got surgery. It's not really something that he could continue to play through, and so he'll be missing the bowl against Michigan. We have now seen Malachi Moore play for the last time, and that's
wow.
That's kind of, and I say for the last time in Crimson. I mean, he's definitely going to be playing on the next level. I need to correct myself there. But it's kind of unfortunate because I feel like that was a guy that deserved more of a public way of going out. I mean, I criticized the guy with what happened with Vanderbilt. I mean, I don't shy away from. I can praise somebody, but also when I feel like it's worth criticizing them, I criticize them. But with him, just at the end of the day, you knew that guy was all Alabama. He loves the university, he loves his team. And I want to give a shout out to him for his contributions over the last 5 seasons, because he has been a guy, who's been through a lot. I mean, started off kind of at the top as far as national championship in his first year, went through some injuries and kind of went from being a freshman starter that year to kind of falling behind Brian Branch, being more of a rotational or situational player, then kind of climbs his way back out. Play star in Alabama's or Nick Saban's defense last year. Then he moves to safety this year. Just a very interesting story. I definitely want to give him, a shout out and a lot of props for everything he's done for the university and for Alabama's program.
Yeah, me too. Look, I was critical of him too, and I didn't like the way that he acted at the end of that game. But and then I saw that piece on ESPN Game Day where he was. Where he was a mentor to that girl that had terminal illness, and she had died pretty recently around that. And I don't know if that affected his, kind of his behavior. I don't know. But just the fact that he did that really said a lot about him as a person. I thought he was a great football player. Before that, I know some of you guys are going back to, hey, this against Texas A&M when he was a freshman. I don't even care about that. I thought that that really showed you what the person on the inside's all about. And you never know what people like, what's going on in their personal life. And it shouldn't affect you in your job. And look, I mean, we've all been through this, but the fact that, that he was that kind of person, that he is that kind of person is impressive to me. And I hope he has a great professional career. I wish him nothing but the best. And after that moment, he actually was fantastic the rest of the way. And in life, man, I mean, look, man, we all have those moments in our life where we do stuff. I was going to say the S word, but stuff happens, Clint, and you just lose it. What do you do, man? You going to quit and walk away, or are you going to, show up the next day and try to fix it? And I thought he did a really good job of that. So I wish him nothing but the best. And I'm going to miss him, wearing that number 13 and being in a Bama jersey.
Well, that is the last time we're going to see Malachi Moore, the Iron Bowl, which is a pretty damn good way to go out, if I do say so myself, because he was all over that field, true headhunter there at safety. But it not only is it an end of an era, it's also the beginning for a lot of these guys because you also got some of these early enrollees already showing up to campus. Duke Johnson, Ivan Taylor, Marshall Pritchett, Luke Metz, and Justin Hill.
Nice.
Obviously, 4 defenders, 1 offensive guy. They're starting their Alabama careers. Now, granted, they're not going to be eligible to play in the bowl game, but they're going ahead and getting to practice, getting their feet wet. You start to see some of these guys start to generate some buzz. I don't know if any of these guys will necessarily. I think Duke Johnson's got to continue to get bigger and stronger. Ivan Taylor would be a guy who might make some waves early just because I think the football IQ and the high-level balanced talent that he brings to the table is something that maybe you could hear some early buzz about him. Marshall Pritchett probably needs to continue to get bigger and stronger. Luke Metz is a guy to keep an eye on because not only is off-ball linebacker kind of a position of need depending on what happens in the transfer portal and what you end up losing, but also he's a guy that just the more I watch him, the more I think he could be one of those guys who, for whatever reason, just wasn't rated as highly as some others, but he ends up contributing really early and being a really good, steady player pretty much from the jump. And then Justin Hill, that guy's got all the talent in the world. A lot of young talent in Alabama's Wolf Room, but that's a player who, probably, he needs to get bigger as well, bigger and stronger. So a lot of these guys, they need to hit the strength and conditioning program, but just wanted to give them kind of a shout out too, because I think they got 5 special players who are already on campus helping contribute towards this, hopefully a bowl game victory here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, look, I don't want to lose to Michigan again, although I've heard it, Clint. People have said to me, Mick, stop saying this is a meaningless bowl game. They've not just in the comment section. People have slid into my DMs. And I get it, man. I know what it means. It means that if you wear that Alabama uniform and you go play a game, it's not meaningless because it's Alabama. And I know we should be in the college football playoff. And guys, I saw when that stupid committee picked SMU, and I want to call SMU something, but it would not be probably good for the show right now. But I have a comment that's right on the end of my tongue. I'm gonna hold it to myself. You guys can guess what I think about them, but the tickets are like under $100. Like they can't even sell the tickets. You put Bama at Penn State. I mean, come on.
I'll take things I saw.
$100, dude.
I'll take things I saw coming for $600, Alex. I mean, that didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that was going to happen.
Nobody cares. You know what? Like you let the nerds go ahead and convince you that the undeserving were deserving, right? Because you thought it was the right thing to do. No one cares about the SMU Penn State game. You could have made it the biggest game this weekend. I'm sorry.
I will say it would be an electric game if it was Alabama Penn State. And who knows what could happen? I think Penn State's going to win and win pretty handedly. But
you mean SMU?
Wait, what?
Against SMU?
Yeah.
Because we would go up there and we'd slam them nerds around.
Well, I mean, it could end up being a really good game. With crazier things have happened, and especially if Penn State's listening to all of us and SMU for that matter, and SMU comes in a lot more motivated, a chip on their shoulder. Penn State comes in thinking, man, this is going to be a cakewalk, get us to the next round. You never know what can happen. So, but what I will say is it's on paper. I feel like that Penn State, especially playing at home in that environment, I would fully expect them to get a pretty sizable win. But, it's kind of like I said before, the day that Alabama got left out.
Thanks, Lance.
It is very much if you're an SMU fan, you're really excited for this game. If you're a Penn State fan, you might not be, you're pumped. I mean, you're in the college football playoff. That's really all that matters. You're going to be pumped. But if it was against Alabama, you'd be then, the hair on your arms would be standing up a little bit more because you'd be a little bit more nervous because the brand. And I will say, if Alabama was playing the lesser brand compared to playing Penn State going up there in Happy Valley and playing them, I mean, it's just I understand what they're trying to do with, getting some of these other teams involved, feeling like they, quote unquote, deserve it, most deserving or whatever. it is unfortunate how it ended up playing out because, I mean, right now we could be gearing up for Alabama playing Penn State and everybody would have that game on the radar.
I think everybody's just glad that it's 3 days plus away from that decision because, Clint, I was in a terrible mood. And look, part of it said it's bad for business, and the other part of it, it's just complete BS. But whoever's like, when the TV ratings stink, I'm going to be happy because nobody's going to care to watch that. But, whatever. We'll play in the ReliaQuest Bowl against Michigan. I saw where Lance was saying, and he's probably right. The tickets are more expensive for a meaningless, sorry, guys, a less meaningful ReliaQuest, Outback Bowl, whatever you want to call it, game than, this college football playoff game. But, Clint, I guess as kind of we get towards the end of the show, I got to tell you, man, I think that the college football playoff needs to expand. Somebody sent me a thing to fill out a bracket for this. I just wanted to take it and throw it right back at him. Like, don't send me this crap. I'm not filling out this bracket. But you get me, like, what do you think? 32? Is the division below us 64? I mean, how many is it? Because I'm at the point now where if you're going to put Boise State and Arizona State as buys, then we just might as well put everybody in because because it's so ridiculous.
I mean, at this point, I really can't argue with the fact that I'm with you. I don't want to harp too much on this because I can get run away with this real easy. I thought about going down a rabbit hole just now, but you know what? I'm going to pull myself back. But what I will say is I've already mentioned this multiple times. I'll continue to reiterate it, though. Alabama being able to keep that 10-game winning streak alive, 10-plus games, dating back all the way to 2008. I mean, how many programs can say that? How many programs will ever be able to go on a run like that? You want to be able to keep that going as long as you possibly can. I do think they're going to tinker with some things. I think they're going to try some new things. You might see some guys maybe get larger roles. This whole idea of like, hey, let's turn this into a glorified, preseason game or spring game or whatever you want to call it, where you play Ty Simpson the first half, you play Austin Mack in the second half. Look, I don't think they're doing anything like that. I don't think because what you're doing at that point is you're admitting this game is meaningless. And as a coach, you're instilling in your players, hey, there are times where you step between these white lines and it means nothing. And so we can tinker, we can try different things. We can approach it like it's pretty much a scrimmage against a different opponent because, it is meaningless. And you don't want them buying into that idea. Every time they step between those white lines and there's an opponent across from them, you want them in kill mode. And so I think that's a real bad approach to do, just say, hey, forget Jalen Milroe, forget everybody else that's leaving. Just let's go ahead and start getting these other guys, playing time and experience. I think they'll do some of those things, but I also think that it will more so be, hey, there's a plan, there's a method to this madness. We're doing this for a reason because we think it can help us beat Michigan. Right. Will be more of the approach.
Right. When you paid $1 billion for this college football playoff, were you imagining, as the executive, like you're in the boardroom, Clint, and you're like, hey, Fred, Kim, Ted, listen, guys, we're going to spend $1 billion, but we're going to get the college football playoff. Are you thinking we're going to have SMU and Penn State? Are you thinking we're going to have Bama and Penn State? And then you're like, well, come on, they had to have a better resume than Alabama, right? And then you look at it and you're like, well, they didn't beat anybody. Oh, well, is Louisville anybody? Is Pitt anybody? Did they beat Duke? Come on, man. Like, they're getting exactly what they deserve. $42 tickets.
I want everybody to understand. Everybody's like, why are you still talking about this? This was weeks ago. Mick is upset because the playoff, this first round's getting closer, and he's sitting here thinking, hey, I could be watching some really good football games this weekend.
I was going to go.
They decided to randomly throw in and change things up and make it to where the games aren't as appealing. So my product's not going to be as good because you guys decided to get cute with it. Right. So, I just want everybody, that's why you're fired up. And you're probably going to get more fired up the closer we get to Friday.
Man. I'm so pissed. All right, look, We just did about an hour on here with you guys. Clint's exactly right. I'm supposed to be the guy that just like gets Clint to where he's supposed to go on all this, and then I get off the rails. But I see this matchup and these $42 tickets, and I'm just like, you guys got to be kidding me, man. You know, SMU's got they might have like 500 fans that go out there. You know what I mean?
Well, and I would have thought that. And
man,
the timing of it's crazy. You know, something that I don't think any of us really took into, or not enough of us took into account, was just the timing of it. It's a week before Christmas, and we're still a couple of days away. Like, you're going to be 4 or 5 days before Christmas, trying to make travel plans, doing all that. I guarantee you that the committee is hoping the $40, $50, $60 ticket isn't reflected in viewership, because the ones that paid these TV deals, they don't really care how many butts are in the stand. They want people just watching them, and a lot of people are going to be at home. It's going to be a break, so I'm sure everybody will be able to tune in and things like that, but just the interest is nowhere close to where it could have been. But, you know, at the same time, and I didn't realize that Greg was going on the next round tomorrow.
I didn't, but I was in the studio today. I wasn't on the show, but I was there. And, you know, we love going over there and hanging out. It's great, great show. LT was in rare form today, but saw Dunaway and Brown. Like, their show's fantastic. So, you know, they're going to ask them the questions that you guys want to know. So make sure you check that out tomorrow on the next round. Our sister station. Would you call her sister?
I think we're under the maybe. I guess everybody's under the Disrupt Media media umbrella, but at the same time, I feel sister station just feels like I don't think that accurately reflects. They're like we're
like the little brother.
Yeah, they're like the 10-year older brother that's just ready to, you know, ready to go to war for you if they need to. But it's like you're living in two different worlds right now. But those are great guys. We always have fun when we go up there. I was actually up there yesterday. You went up there today, and Greg Byrne being on there is going to be must see interview. So, you know, 9 to 1 tomorrow. Definitely go check out that show, because I'm going to be curious to see once he's actually able to put a voice to it, gets asked some questions, kind of what his pitch is and everything else, because he understands the landscape of college football. And understand, guys, you might hate him for it. All the man is trying to do is make sure that the team that you love and pull for is as competitive as they possibly can be.
I'm with him.
That's his entire goal with this.
He watched me yesterday and he was like, I got to make a statement because Mick's right. 300% deposit bonus for the casino and 50 free spins using the promo code next round, or 50% off the sign-up bonus for the sportsbook, mybookie.ag. Guys, check it out there. If you're hanging out with us for the first time, make sure that you become a subscriber to Cover Crimson. I know a lot of you guys hang with us all the time, and we appreciate you guys too, man. Roll Tide to all of you guys. And don't forget, covercrimson.com. Big things are happening. Clint's over there watching film on all of these potential transfers. Some of them come, Clint, and some of them don't. But you'll know all about all of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, things are changing quickly with the transfer portal and just the guys that Alabama's bringing in. What you're starting to see is them bringing in guys where it's like, okay, we're bringing him in with a purpose, and they're all brought in with a purpose. That's a poor way of putting that. This is a guy we're going to press for, and we're going to try to get. He fills a need. We like what we see. You know, with receiver and stuff, you got Ryan Williams, you got Jeremy Bernard. Unless you're looking for a specific skill set, it's like you bring these guys in because they're good players. You kind of want to gauge where they're at with things. Maybe you can end up getting a really good player. Maybe they're not demanding a lot of NIL. You at least want to get to know them in case they enter the transfer portal again later, whatever, however, you know, it goes down. But then, you know, you've also got guys specifically in mind that you're looking at. And so this news is forever changing right now. I mean, it just feels like with, you know, Kelby Collins last night, right before we hopped on here, we were going to talk about the Greg Byrne statement. And then, you know, here comes Cameron Calhoun. Very nice pickup for Alabama. So there could be some more on the horizon. I would fully expect there to be a little bit more on the horizon. So stay tuned for that. We'll be covering all of it. And, you know, Mick, as always, brother, I appreciate you hopping on here with me.
Man, look, it's been hard to corral the Mike Johnsons and the Jake Cokers this week because they've been so busy. Mike was at a Christmas party today.
You should have him go live from the Christmas party.
I said that, man. I said that. Like, he had Monday Night Football. He had to sleep over in the studio. That meant Monday was out. And then, you know, you start all of a sudden you turn around. It's the holiday season. But That means maybe, you and I get to team up more, which is always good for me.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, hang on.
Oh, it's Uncle Charles. What's up, man?
Okay, so Diego Pavia was granted an extra year of eligibility. We're about to hop off here,
Really?
And someone just put in the chat because they're phenomenal. I want to go ahead and give them their credit, Michael Bills. But he's getting an extra year, and I need to look into this, guys, because I don't know exactly what got him the extra year. What I will say, if it has something to do with like JUCO and making this argument, I have said the second Diego Pavia gets an extra year of eligibility, I will start looking at how this could potentially impact Justin Jefferson, who is a JUCO player. And when you're talking about a position in need, this guy could be absolutely huge as far as him returning. I don't know if there's any connection, like it worked for Diego Pavia, so it will apply to Justin Jefferson. I don't want people to get their hopes up necessarily. And maybe Justin Jefferson is ready to move on to the NFL. I have no idea. But, I'm going to go look into this for people, try to get an answer, try to see if anything applies, because that could be maybe absolutely huge news for Justin Jefferson and Alabama's off-ball linebacker, inside linebacker room.
Man, this whole world is changing so quickly. But
JUCO doesn't count as JUCO anymore.
I just can't wait to beat him in Tuscaloosa next year. Come on, baby. Bring it on.
It's going to be like the reverse of Johnny Manziel, right? Yeah. It's like Johnny gets you in Bryant-Denny, but then you go on the road the next year. And that was kind of a battle. Yeah. But it was a fun game, I guess you'd say. Hopefully it's the opposite this year.
We lost to Johnny because we didn't run the damn ball. I was standing on the 5-yard line when we were trying to throw the ball instead of running. But we won the national championship that year. So don't forget that.
Yep, that is true.
All right, guys, roll tide, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, hit the bell. We appreciate you being on Cover Crimson. And the reason that our channel's doing well is because of you guys, and we love you for it. So thank you. Roll tide. Man, not bad.